more perspective on this, we're being joined by Mr. Scott Lucas from Birmingham in the United Kingdom. He's a professor of international politics at the University College in Dublin. Professor Lucas, thank you very much indeed, sir, for joining us here on this broadcast on WION. Now, what we are witnessing is a heightened intensity of the conflict over the course of the last few weeks, and also especially since the United States passed that security bill assisting Ukraine with about $61 billion. But the fact that Russia is now targeting specifically the railways and also other logistical carriages, does it mean that the Ukrainians will find it much harder to bring any Western-given weapons to the battlefield?
Both sides have found it difficult on the front lines. You mentioned, for example, the difficulties that the Ukrainians have had using U.S.-supplied tanks and tanks supplied by other countries because of the use of drones on the battlefield. That goes both ways. The Russians have lost hundreds of tanks since last October as they've gained a limited amount of ground in eastern Ukraine in these very grinding offensives that they've been pursuing. So I think the reality is, in that one aspect of the war on the front lines, as you put it very, very well, there really isn't that much more movement, and you're talking more about a battle of attrition which takes place. But it's in that wider battle that we see beyond the front lines that I think the key developments occur over the next few months. I think immediately you can think about Russia continuing with those missile and drone attacks, indeed increasing them on energy infrastructure and on civilian areas, trying to break both Ukraine's energy grid and the will to resist. But at the same time, that Ukraine's been able to strike far behind the Russian front lines, and indeed in the last few hours hitting a military air base and hitting at least one more oil refinery. What I think will be the significant feature to watch in the next few months is this shift in aid that has taken place. You mentioned the U.S. aid, which is not just $61 billion. It's $61 billion after a 6.5-month blockade by Trumpist and hard-right Republicans. And also there's a significant increase in European aid, including an initiative for many more artillery shells for Ukraine, which is the area where Russia has its biggest advantage right now.
Right, and also considering that the United States now appears to be more open to provide Ukraine with these long-range missiles, the ATACMS, with a range of about 300 kilometers, which can be used to strike inside the Russian territory. What do you think is the scope of escalation in this conflict? Because the Ukrainians are choosing to target inside the Russian territory pretty deep.
Well, I think we need to make a distinction here. The Biden administration is still saying that those longer-range missiles, up to 300 kilometers, will be used on Russian-occupied territory. In other words, that's Ukrainian territory, that the missiles will not be used inside Russia. But of course, what Ukraine has had for months is they've had missiles, long-range missiles supplied by France and the United Kingdom, which have been used inside Russia. So I think what you're going to see is that the American missiles will be significant on putting pressure on the Russians in the occupied areas, while at the same time, Ukraine has the capabilities with its own drones and with missiles from other countries to try to degrade Russia's military machine inside Russia itself.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Professor Lucas, for joining us and getting us those insights there.
Thank you.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.